This is Daniel Posney, and this is called Shifting Perspectives. And this is just about 15, 20 minutes of a certain topic that kind of comes in the night before or actually the morning of sometimes. And this morning, what kind of wanted to be talked about was my gallbladder teacher and what this whole experience of getting my gallbladder removed has taught me so far. And I know that there's more to come. I can feel it, but where I'm at right now with it, and I can feel my voice is there's just not a lot of energy in my voice compared to how it used to be, and my diaphragm, my abdomen is just going through healing right now, so my voice is not as strong as it normally is. There's not that force in my diaphragm that will push out the air to make the words stronger. So forgive me for that. So the gallbladder, it's like a lot of things, we don't know too much about these things until something happens. And so this is what I came up from the web is your gallbladder is a small pear-shaped organ located under your liver that stores and releases bile. Bile is the fluid your liver produces that helps digest fats in the food you eat. So how can we live without that? And, the medical establishment will say that the gallbladder is kind of a almost useless organ. You don't really need it. I don't know if I really buy that, but then again, I'm not a doctor. But just seems like every single organ, including our appendix, has some sort of purpose, or less, it wouldn't be created. But there is something to that that I found about the gallbladder. So first of all, it was years ago that I think about 5 or more years ago, I started getting acid reflux symptoms. And acid reflux, you're eating the wrong foods or you're drinking alcohol or whatever the thing is. And I was cutting out all those things and it would still show up. So I started to look at the emotional piece of that. And for me, it was not being able to, there's an idea or a thought or a belief that I needed to let go of or speak, and I couldn't do either. And it really makes sense to how, our upbringing, our childhood, our conditioning. My thing was there's a part of me that freezes, and there's a part of me that self-sabotages, or at least in the past, where even in the good things, like, I want to flirt with this girl and I want to say something and I freeze. Or maybe someone is threatening me and I freeze. And that was kind of that energy that was going on in my esophagus, is I couldn't speak it. And I know that there's this inside of all that, there's this fear of losing love and that kind of thing. So sometimes I would not say or do anything for fear of losing something, when in reality, that wasn't always the case. It may have been somebody would have judged me if I had said something, but a lot of times, if I'd said something, people would be, thankful that I'd said something. But I didn't have that in my consciousness, to be aware of. So anyway, I would have this acid reflux thing, and it'd be really painful. And finally, I said what I needed to say. It was really hard, and it took a lot of, gumption and courage to say something, but I did. And then the acid reflux went away, or so I thought. And then on the 21st of this month, a few days ago, I had this very similar symptoms. And it was so painful in my right below that, that part where they do the CPR. There's a name for this, but it's right here in the solar plexus. And then also on the opposite side of my back, I would get this really painful, dull, aching pain. And it was just so excruciating. And hour after hour after hour, I'm having this pain, and I'm taking charcoal and baking soda and apple cider vinegar and all kinds of other stuff. Believe me, I've tried it. And it just would not go away. I couldn't stand still. I'm walking around and couldn't let it go. I had to stick my finger down my throat about 50 times so I could throw up and get some pressure off of my belly, because my belly was getting bloated. And it was good. It was coming out so far that just the bloatedness was so painful. And anyway, I finally went to the hospital and they said I need to get my gallbladder removed. And I said, why can't we just remove those gallstones? And I think what he told me was that one of them was about the size of a strawberry or a large cherry, and too big to pull out of there. And it was just much easier just to pull out the gallbladder. So I was in so much pain. I didn't want any possibility of going through another 15 plus hours of this excruciating pain. I mean, I was ready to stick a needle in my stomach to relieve the pressure. That's how painful it was. And no amount of cleansing or apple cider vinegar or anything was going to let go of that. So I made the decision, and I'm really happy with that. But I wanted to learn more about, now that gallbladder is removed from my body, I wanted to understand the insights of that. So the nutrition part of it is, I'll be almost 60. I'm almost 60, and I eat pretty well. But every once in a while, I'll go and sabotage myself, sort of, or I'll have a burger with some cheese on it, and some fries, and a beer, and maybe I'll have some dessert, and all that stuff. Just my body's not used to it, and like when I have a burger, I'll say, well, now that I'm having a burger, I might as well just have a beer too. Well, now that I have a burger and a beer, I might as well have some chocolate pudding. So it's like I completely do this whole thing in one whole shot, so that, I don't know, it's like this, maybe it is a form of punishing or self-sabotage, but I do it all in one thing. And I know that I've done it with other people too. We'll go out to dinner, and then we'll have this and we'll have that. And it's so fun to do that. But, as you start getting older, you start going, man, I can't do that stuff anymore. But so I would do it, I don't know, a couple times a month, I guess. So not terrible, but still there was something that was accumulating. And even more than that, there was this energetic thing. And I can't say that I have all these negative tendencies now, but I definitely see it in my past. So here's some of the tendencies of the gallbladder: anger, resentment. God, I get emotional just talking about it. Anger. Wow, it's really coming up. I can't stop this. Resentment. Wow. And rejection. Pardon me, but this is just coming up, and it's just, I wasn't expecting this. Hardening. I remember when I was a kid, and wow, you're really getting all of me right now. I remember as a kid when my dad was killed when I was 12, and I hardened. I remember I was playing next door, and I was just this free kid, just having fun and creating and having fun with my friends, and just so taken back by the bully that was in the neighborhood. I was like, oh my gosh, he's so angry that it just hurt me. I was so sensitive. And I remember playing next door, and then, the cops were at my house, and I was, notified that my dad was killed. It just, I completely hardened. And I felt this rejection, and it's not that my mother was rejecting me, but I felt the rejection of her not knowing what to do, and her not knowing how to emotionally nurture us and with tenderness and that kind of stuff, and no fault of her own, but it was there. And I know that's part of it, that anger and resentment and rejection and hardening and self-sabotage. And I know all along that way, I sabotaged myself. And when I look back at the younger self, I go, oh man, that's so painful to see yourself as a little boy to go through that kind of thing. And I hope that you can do that for yourself, to spend some time just to have a lot of compassion for not this hard, I had to be what I had to be and I had to get strong. And no, that's true. But spend some time about, just that tenderness of, this is what you really needed, was this compassion and tenderness and nurturing. And it seemed like I was just in the world by myself, just in the world by myself, trying to just go through every day by myself. And my friends are always trying to do the best and trying to help me out, but I always keep everyone kind of at an arm's distance. And if you've done something like that, just so much compassion that people have been trying to get into your life and get into your heart, but sometimes we keep people at an arm's distance so that we don't get hurt anymore. And so that just, I'm sure that was part of the whole thing. And now that I look at it right here, right now, is that the gallbladder, there is a purpose to the gallbladder. And part of that purpose is to let you know about the hardening in your life. And those are the gallstones. And, the bile and the gallbladder accumulates bile, which is the thing that breaks things down. Like when this stuff comes out of your mouth and you start talking this out, this is the storage container of that which breaks things down, that makes things softer and not so hard. Wow. Ooh, God, I'm having a moment right now. So how do I work with this without the gallbladder? Well, now it's kind of like, now this is all you. This is all you, to take care of yourself, to love yourself and support yourself without the body needing to show you what's going on there. You're going to have to be on top of this. You're going to have to not only, be really aware of your nutrition and not sabotaging yourself through, things that taste really good, but also emotionally to make sure that you keep on this path of softening. And I looked up the antonyms to these emotions. So the antonym of anger is joy. And the antonym of resentment is contentment. And the antonym of rejection is, oh gosh, I just had this. You probably know it further or quicker than I can get it out of my mouth. But hardening antonym is softening. The antonym of self-sabotage is self-love. So hopefully I've been showing up that way. I feel like the anger and resentment and rejection and hardening isn't my self-image these days. But as you can see, I can completely connect with that and feel the emotion of that. But I feel like I definitely have softened, and more softening to do for sure. I'm definitely not resentful as I used to be, and not angry as I used to be, but there's still a little what's the word I'm looking for? Little tendrils, little pieces still in there that I can definitely feel the anger. I can definitely feel little flakes of resentment, little flakes of rejection. It's not the large percentage of who I am now, but maybe it's just there so I can really connect with other people that are going through that. Who knows? But it's definitely not my self-image. And then again, just enough so that I can remember that and feel that and have compassion for that. I hate to think that, I've done some kind of spiritual bypass, that I've totally disconnected that and don't feel it. Now, as you can see, I can still feel it, and it's still inside of me. And I hope it never fully leaves me. I hope that I keep going through my life with that balance of knowing who I once was and then who I am now. So, the other thing that I'm learning from this is, my friends, the friends that have shown up, and the ones that haven't, but the ones that have, that I didn't even know they were my friends. And some of my friends, they touch me so deeply. And I look at all the love and support that I have, and really says, good job, good job. you you know, you weren't that person before. You know, you kind of faked being a nice person in the past, and you had this mask on, but now you're an authentic person that people enjoy, that people appreciate. And I look at that, and I know it's on the edge of being egoic or being bragging or something. But you know what? I invite you to look at yourself in such a radical way that you would see what an awesome person you are. And maybe you're not an awesome person yet, but at least look at yourself with compassion. And what really helped me was I started to look at, different Facebook postings, and I came across some old postings from old relationships and old friends and things, and what they said about me and stuff. And I really looked at it, and I was really honest with it. And I just invite you to be honest, really honest with yourself, because in the honest way that your soul would be honest with you. We all kind of hold back on this stuff, and I'm not nothing, and I'm not that nice, or I've got some work to do. Yeah, but the way that your soul would look at you, your soul would look at you in a completely different way. And that's what I'm choosing to do, is to allow my soul to speak for me, to speak for who I am. And yeah, there's always more work to do. I can definitely feel that. I can definitely feel like there's another version of myself that's going to be experienced before I die. But right now, I'm going to take this time right now just to really appreciate myself. And I hope you do the same thing. So again, if you can't see yourself as a person that everybody just really loves and enjoys, then take that time to be compassionate with yourself, that you're going through something that I also went through. So this other part is the ancestral and the genetic part of this whole gallbladder thing, or whatever's coming up. And I was reminded by a family member that my mom had her gallbladder removed, and the family member said, "No, yes, it's genetic." And I don't really go for that whole this blame it on genes kind of thing, because genes have they have consciousness with them in them, too. So there's something behind the genes. So I started to wonder, would my mom have those feelings of anger and rejection and resentment? Oh, yeah. And if I knew her mother and her father, would they have those feelings of anger and rejection and resentment and hardening and self-sabotage? Oh, yes. Yes, they did. I know that they did. I saw them as a kid, and as an adult. I love them as my grandparents, but I know that was there. And where did they get that from? So yeah, it was genetic, but also another word would be ancestral. So even though that there might be some pieces of this that I've healed and I've become a different image of myself, still there's this, everything is energy. So there's this also ancestral lineage that was passed down from my mother's womb, from her mother's womb, from her mother's womb, and all those kind of things. And the thing that I needed to be really honest with is that I'm doing the work on this more than anyone else in my family line ever has. So stuff is going to come up, and the emotions of that is going to come up. And I feel like I'm the right person for this, that it's not for everybody, but it's something for me to look at directly with love and compassion and kindness, and realize that this is not only the stuff from me, from my childhood, not just my stuff that maybe I've healed a lot of it, but it's kind of like what I think about what's happening is that once I start to heal this in such a way that it's not a majority of myself, it's become a minority of myself, that I open up the gates for my ancestors to flow that through me. So I always felt like that's what was happening, is that once we start doing kind of that 144,000, I don't know, it's the majority is what I'm trying to say, is once we start doing the majority of that clearing and that clearing, healing process, that you open up the gates for other people, your ancestors go, hey, take this one too. Yeah, take this one too. Yeah, okay, feed that in there. If you got an open channel, I want to pass this one too. Whew. Wow, didn't have to go back and do that one again. It's just a theory, but it's kind of a fun theory to know that there's even more reason why this is happening and I'm doing this work. I think that's all I have today. Wow, that was more emotional than I thought I was going to be, but everything is going great. I've probably lost probably 6 or 7 pounds. I'm doing intermittent fasting, lots of juicing, lots of green juicing, and I'll eventually move to some water in a healthy way because I've also got some work that needs to be done in a couple of days. Valerie is checked in with her place in Costa Rica for her 21-day water fast. So we're both kind of in our healing journey at the same time, of course. But it's nice and peaceful here at the house. And I had a couple of visitors, and that was nice. And, you know, I'm not hurting for any food or anything. Got lots of warmth in the house. So looking good, feeling good. And I hope you have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for listening or watching this. I love you. Thank you and bless you.